Okay, so the first thing I need to let you guys know is because we're not in a computer lab when I'm teaching this stuff to you, I am recording what's on the screen and my horrible voice, and I'll be posting these on my YouTube channel, and I'll put a link on Blackboard to them so you can go through these lessons. And of course, you can also find Vectorworks stuff if you go to the My Student Vectorworks site, which is also linked off of Blackboard. And you can go through my YouTube channel, and I've got lots of other Vectorworks videos there. Yes?
For days that we're going to be learning Vectorworks stuff, can you warn us the class before so we can bring our laptop?
It's on your schedule.
It is not.
It is too. Okay? Okay. Everything I am showing you guys is going to be Vectorworks 2012 because that is what's in the Idea Lab. There should not be a lot of changes for you between 2012 and whatever you downloaded from Vectorworks. You downloaded what? 2016. Okay. I'll need to buy 2016. I only have 2015. So if you need help, until I let you know that I have 2016, if you need assistance on stuff, please back save it to 2015 so I can help you. Okay, today we're looking at layers, classes, and space. Okay. This is our main Vectorworks window. This happens to be the file of IrmaVep that we're going to be working with. Next class, though, I'm going to be opening another file that's called Assignment 1 and 2, which is the file you'll need to do your Vectorworks assignments 1 and 2. These files can be found on Blackboard under Content, and then what? And then Vectorworks assignments. So they're there for you, okay? One of the other things I'll remind you about Vectorworks, it's software, it's a computer, it's a file. At this point, if you have Vectorworks downloaded on your home machine, open up a file and play with it. Okay? If you're don't have it downloaded, spend some time in the Idea Lab and play with Vectorworks. You can't break it. Okay? Okay? And if you do, all you have to do is reinstall. Okay? If you corrupt the file at this point, I'll be impressed, but it doesn't matter because you can just download a new file. Okay? So this is a ground plan of our theater. Vectorworks is a 3D software application. Okay? While this looks like a ground plan, I can click this tool, which is our flyover tool. Okay? It looks like that when you hover over something, the words, what it is, comes up. The other thing is you'll see, oops, sorry, I can't point with my mouse here. It says flyover Shift-C. So if I hold Shift and C, it will select that. Or I can click it, or somewhere up here in the menu, I can get to it. Most commands I'm going to show you, we're going to get to through these little boxes called palettes. And actually, let me show you how to get to the palettes if they're not there. Okay, Windows, PC, some of the shortcut keys will be different, but otherwise things are going to be pretty much the same if you're a Mac user or a Windows user. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close all of these things. They're called palettes. On a Mac, they're automatically floating. On a Windows machine, you can either have them float like these or they can lock to like the corner of your desktop. It's up to you. If I want to get those back, Window, Palettes, and that was my basic tool. So I want my basic tools back. So here they are. Okay, Flyover tool. Flyover. Oh, look, the set is actually in 3 dimensions. Look at that, okay? It's also actually in color, because you notice, look, I can totally see through here, and that's kind of weird. Okay, this is called wireframe, and this is the easiest for Vectorworks to work in. So if you're not doing something where you need to see what the set looks like in color or as solid objects, this just imagine that you've taken a coat hanger and bent it to the outline of all the shapes that you need. Okay? If you need to see it, you can go to View, Rendering, and you can look at this and say OpenGL, which is a pretty quick rendering method. Ah, yes, here's what it looks like. Now the big warning is, every time I move around, it's got to re-render, so it takes a moment to re-render. My computer's pretty fast. If your computer's a little slower, it may take some more time. I recommend not having Civilization and your internet browser and Word and Excel and PowerPoint and et cetera, open while you're using Vectorworks. Really try to concentrate on one software thing. What?
I can do that.
Okay, fine. The zoom command, which is the C command, okay, we want to look at that. I want you guys to look up here for a moment. We've got 4 little boxes up here. When I go to the zoom command, they change. Up here, these boxes control what I like to call subcommands or modes of the command. Okay, so on zoom, we're going to look at these. Sometimes we're going to look at them, sometimes we're not. Feel free to explore. My encouragement with you with Vectorworks is to play in it. Take some time. Don't get frustrated. Just click. Find out what that button does. Okay? The first one is the zoom marquee mode. And marquee is just fancy 3D drafting for a box. Okay? And that means I'm going to draw a box. I have drawn a box. Click, draw. I click again. I have now zoomed into that box. This is a very convenient way to zoom in. I can zoom in on exactly what I want. This is not a convenient way to zoom out because I can't draw a box that's bigger. So if I want to zoom out, I have to change modes. This is my zoom interactive mode. Okay, you see it's got a little arrow next to the magnifying glass. Can you guys see that? I need to remind you, I'm looking at my screen, not behind me. So if you have trouble seeing something, please ask. I also try to point with the mouse because I know pointing with my finger does no good. Okay? So with the zoom interactive, if I click and hold and move upwards, I zoom in. If I click and hold and move downwards, I zoom out. You may say, wait, there's no picture, there's no picture. Well, it's going to wait till I stop to redraw. Okay? So zoom around, look at that. Oh, look, there's a backdrop. There's a drop back there. We can see this. Okay, this is our set we're going to be playing with. Okay? We'll talk about this more next class. Okay? The hand tool I also want to show you. I call it the hand tool. H is the command for it. It is technically called the pan tool. But if I remember that's the hand tool, I know that H is the one key to grab it. And that lets me grab the page and move it around. Okay, and again, it won't redraw until I stop, but I just click and drag and move. Click and drag and move, okay? Most of the time, we want to get back to our top plan view. That's kind of going to be our home view. You can go to this box up here, okay, and go to top plan. The other thing you can do is go to View, Standard Views, Top Plan, and you'll notice the top plan has a special symbol by it. On the Mac, that is Command 5. I think on a PC it is Control 5, but what? I don't think it's the Windows key. Really. Because Command usually maps to Control. But again, you can check. You can press buttons till you find it. And that's going to take us back to, so Command 5 or clicking, I'm going to do it by Command 5, takes us back to our top plan view. And it resets us into wireframe mode. Okay, that always happens. So if you ever get lost, can't find things, that's one tool that can help us. The other tool I want to show you in my zoom interactive mode, let's say I accidentally click and I've zoomed out and oh my gosh, I can't find anything because I am zoomed so far out. No, not save. You guys should save regularly. I'm messing around, so I'm not saving. Okay, and let's say you can't find that X has gotten so small you can't figure out that that's our drawing. You want to get back to where we were. This button right here is a fit to objects. If you have nothing selected, it's going to zoom so that all the objects that are visible fill your screen. Yay. If you have an object selected, which with my arrow key, I'm going to just select an object. Notice it's got an orange box around it. It is now selected. Now if I do fit to objects, it has a slightly different function. It has the selected object fill my screen. So if you ever just, I'm zoomed in, I'm zoomed too far, and I can't figure out, click on nowhere, click on something that's nothing, so you have nothing selected, then click on fit to objects, and we can find everything. Okay? So we can now move around with our pan tool, which I like to call the hand tool because it starts with H and that's its keyboard command. The flyover tool, woohoo! And yes, I can go look at this underneath. I can go look at this from any angle till it's like, oh look, it's upside down. Okay? Not necessarily useful, but I can do it. I can go back to a custom view. By the way, I have top plan. Top plan and top are different, but we're not going to talk today about why. I'm just going to tell you they're different. You might figure out why they're different. We'll get to that. You can go to a front view. You can go to a right view. All these things are here. If any of them are useful to you, great. Or you can go Command 5 to a top plan view. Okay? And we can zoom in and out with our marquee and our interactive. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. Good. Our next thing, we're going to look at a different palette. We're going to look at layers and classes and space. They're all on the same palette. Window, palettes, and we call that palette navigation. Okay, so the navigation palette. And you're going to see that I have, when you're using the pre-built files, I have built a lot of stuff for you. And we'll talk eventually how you can build your own of things. But we're going to look here, and you see I've got this highlight that says Act 2. Or sorry, Act 1. That is the Act 1, or Act I. That is the Act I, Act 1 set. It's also the Act 3 set. Okay, and it has a check mark next to it. That check mark means anything I do at the moment, for example, drawing, I'm specifically doing on the Act 1 class. It says class options up here. It's classes, so I'm looking at classes. Okay, because it's got the check mark, I'm working on Act 1. The other things over here, there's 3 other columns. The first one is an eyeball. That means it's visible. The second one is an X, meaning it's invisible. And you might say, hey, wait, nothing changed. The selected class is always visible even if it's not. So even if I have it set to not be visible, if it's active, it's going to be visible. And then the last option is gray, which means it's grayed out. Again, we can't see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to come down to floor and make my floor active. My Act 1 set went away. Where'd it go? Is it still here? Yeah, it's still here. I can make it visible, invisible, or I can make it gray. Okay? And this can be helpful if I want to see something, but I don't really want to see it. I want to know where the building walls are. For example, when I'm doing my light plot, I often set my set to gray so I can see it, but it's not so prominent. It just turns it down in the background for me. Does that make sense? Okay, so every object we draw has a class associated with it. How many of you have used Photoshop? Okay, you guys are used to classes there. You're used to layers there. Everything has a layer, right? Okay, every object has a class in Vectorworks. Every object also has a layer. So you see here's the class button. The next button over is our layers. Okay, I work with very few layers. Okay, layers I use as big picture items. I have the scenery layer, the building layer, and the lights layer. For this class, you guys will probably do most of your drawing on which layer? Lights. Okay, so this means I can also grab everything. So I'm going to turn the lights on at the moment. There's a couple things in there. But I can turn the building off if I want to. Okay, building's in my way. It's confusing me. I'm turning it off. Okay, or it can be back on. Okay, or it can be gray. Okay, or let's say I don't want to have to click every individual thing on the set. I can set all my sets to gray. Click on lighting. So my set is going to be gray, even if I've told it to be visible over here in my classes. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, because see, I've now just set Act 1 to gray or to visible, and it's still gray. I can turn it off. I can turn parts of it off. So everything has a layer and a class. Okay? I like to think of layers as big picture items. Okay? And classes as more details. We have masking, we have props, stuff like that. Okay? I can tell what set I stole this from because I have a whole bunch of extra classes here that we don't need that we can eventually get rid of. Okay. So layers and classes. The last thing I want to give a brief kind of quick introduction to is we've got these tabs up here. So here are my classes again, so I can just select here and make that class active. And it has moved my check mark over here. I can also do the same thing with my layers. They're down at the bottom on this, lights, scenery, building. And I can change those up. There are also these things up here. Okay? These are called sheet layers. Those of you who might be familiar with AutoCAD might know them as spaces. I think SketchUp also uses the space concept. We're going to get really into this later. Okay, I want to show you they're here, and they're not going to be particularly useful at the moment. But I want you to be aware that they're here. So you say, what are those things? They're another thing. They're more of a printout mode. And we'll get to those at the end of the semester. Okay. But we can move through our layers and classes. Basic. So I can move around here. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. Okay. Let me show you, we have some time. Let me show you how to create a new class. Be organized. A lot of ways with Vectorworks you can turn things on and off. So if you have something that you're trying something out on, I would put it on a separate class called, Caleb Has Fun. Okay? That is just this separate class that you're not going to use, or that you're going to use for doing a little experiment, but it's not part of your finished product. Okay? So to add a new class, I'm going to double click here. And to add a new class, I'm going to type new. And we're calling Caleb's Fun. Okay? And I click OK. And now I have a new class called Caleb's Fun that I can do stuff on. I know there's not much we can do because I don't teach you how to draw things till next class. Okay? But I can create a class. Okay? If there's a class on here that you want to create that you don't like the names of a class, I can also edit a class. So like I have a class here called Pit. Okay? I can edit it, and I can change its name to Orchestra Pit. Okay? And I have just changed its name. And that's lovely. Okay? And when I click OK here, it'll change over here. See, it says Pit at the moment. Watch when I click OK. Pit goes away, and Orchestra Pit shows up. Okay? If I want to delete something we're not using, you can delete it in there. Creating layers works the same way. The last thing I want to show you are the options. Okay? So here it says class options, and there are 6 here. In 2015 and 2016, there are a couple of more. Read their descriptions if you have a newer version and play with them. So the options are active only, gray others, gray snap others, show snap others, and show snap modify others. Active only means only the class that is active will show up. I have nothing on the dimension class. It's empty. Truly empty? It's empty. So there is nothing to see. If I go to Act 1, okay, I can see the Act 1 stuff. And just that because I have said active only. Only the active class is visible. Does that make sense? So the next one is gray others. That says anything else I have allowed to be visible in my visibility is going to appear as gray, except my active class. Now you may say, wait a second, we have nothing bold. Remember we went over to layers and we said make scenery. There, I've now made scenery visible. So now I can see my Act 1 stuff is visible. Everything else I've allowed to see is in gray. Does that make sense? And by the way, just so you're aware that gray works in 3D too. You can see my building is in gray, but my Act 1 set is there. Okay. Okay, the next option is gray snap others. I'm going to pop back to a top view. When working with a computer and drawing, we'll get into this next class a little bit, oftentimes when we're drawing, the computer knows that we like to draw, if I get my mouse near this corner, I actually probably want to start my line that I'm drawing right on that corner. And that's a process called snapping. And we'll look at that next class, or next time we do Vectorworks stuff. I shouldn't say next class, that's in next week, I think. And so when a snap says, when my mouse gets close to an obvious thing that I want to connect to, go ahead and snap my mouse, my pointer there. Okay? So when I've got snap others on, it means that I can snap to objects that are not on my active layer. Okay? Show others means that I now can see things. I'm looking at my visibility here. So whatever visibility it is, okay? Show snap others, I'm going to see it and I can snap to other things. Show snap modify is what I like to think of as the dangerous way to work, or the easy way to work, depending on how conscientious you are. So at the moment, Act 1 is my selected class. I can try to click on this object over here, and I can't click on it. Okay, I can click on, okay? I'm having trouble clicking on anything, okay? And that's because, let's just show snap modify. Okay, come back here. I can only click on objects and select them, get that orange box around them, that are on my Act 1 setup. If they're not there, I can't select them, okay? If I say show snap modify, I can now select any object and edit it, okay? This is what I love about this, is I can set this to show snap others, okay? Now I can't select that object because it's not on the correct class. I've got to find what class is. It means I don't accidentally edit something, okay? I will admit that in my classes, sorry, cancel. I usually work in show snap modify. When I'm over in layers, I have the exact same list. Active, gray, show. Here is where I am very big on show others or show snap others, because now I don't want to edit the building. If I'm working on lighting, I don't want to edit the scenery, right? That's not my job. Of course, editing the building is really not my job, because as the designer, if I say, oh, I'm going to knock a hole in the building, do you think the production's going to do that for you? No, they're not. Okay? So I like to especially keep my layers on show others or show snap others, because that way I don't accidentally edit the building or the scenery if that's not my place to edit it. And if I do need to go edit the building for some reason, I'm taking the time to conscientiously go and reset things. Okay? I do want to show you one other trick with that. If you're desperately trying to select this and you can't because I'm just clicking, it's not going to select it. If you right-click on a PC or right-click on a multi-button mouse on a Mac, or Control-click, and I think on the PC, if you have, does anyone have only a one-button mouse on their PC? Then I don't need to teach you what the other way to do it is. You can come down here and there's a button that says Force Select. The computer isn't stupid. It knows what you're trying to select. When you say Force Select, it is going to change your class and layers so that you have permission to select something. Okay? So that's how you can grab that thing you don't want to grab. Now, I'm going to do this, and you're going to watch. My class selection is going to change. Okay, it changed to sets, and it beeped at me to say, hey, I just made a change. Are you sure you wanted to do that? And now I can select it. Okay? Now I can't select this anymore. So I would have to do another force select to get there. Okay? That's why it's really important to know what things are. Okay? And I'll show you eventually, if you have something you can't figure out what layer or class it's on, there is a way to find out. But that will be next class. Any questions? We have 1 minute. Seeing none.
So we're supposed to bring that